everyone, I'm Emily4 and welcome to Reactivated, the 15-minute episode series where we delve into the depths of the Robot Wars archives. Of course, starting with tradition, it's Bot Bit. On the screen in front of you, you will see a little bit of a robot. Now, a little bit of a clue for this time, it's a house robot. You've got 9 house robots to pick. Which one is it? The answer will be revealed very shortly. And now we go over to our pencil case full of robots from all 10 series, of course. We're going to have a 3-way melee. This is our little fantasy fight. And our first one is, completely at random, is Stegosaurus, who got all the way to the grand final of Series 3. Basically just a box on wheels, let's face it. But it did very well. Lost to Hypnodisc, of course, if you only remember. Now, our second is Aftershock from, oh goodness me, from the rebooted series. Now Aftershock, a deadly weapon and robot. Next, and finally for our 3-way melee, we have Firestorm 5 from Series 7. Don't know if you can see that or not. Well, Aftershock, Stegosaurus or Firestorm 5 in our fantasy fight. Who would win this? Well, I think we know what comes in third place. It'll be Stegosaurus. I think Firestorm, very speedy across the arena, would make its way and flip Stegosaurus. Now Aftershock would then probably dispose of it by using its vertical flywheel and shooting it over the fence. Then it would be left to Aftershock and Firestorm 5 to fight it out, and it would all depend on who has the lowest ground clearance at the front. Firestorm very low. If they manage to get and attack the front of Aftershock, I think it will get in and flip Aftershock. The problem is, you see, if Aftershock is flipped, we all know from its reputation, we don't know what it would do, because if the disc lands on the arena floor, it could bounce up into the air. So for me, unless Aftershock get in at the back of Firestorm, but very good driver was Graham Bowen, if you all remember, I don't think Firestorm would show its rear. So Firestorm, for me, I think, would win that. So there we go. Do you agree? Let me know in the comment section below as we move on to our best battles. Now, just to recap, throughout the series of Reactivated, we have covered the odd best battle. We've covered Behemoth against Bigger Brother, Hypnodisc versus Splinter, and the Flipper Frenzy. Now, our 4th best battle to add to an eventual leaderboard is a fight that took place in Series 5, the 5th Wars, in the semi-final. Does anyone need any extra clues to what I'm about to say? Yes, it's the epic confrontation between Chaos 2 and Wild Thing. Now, in terms of fights, you might think that this was probably the greatest fight of the entire series. It's debatable. For me, it's certainly up there with the very best. The fight, there was no time to breathe throughout this epic fight. Both robots very nippy around the arena. Chaos 2 with the flip, Wild Thing, incredible driving skills throughout this fight. And of course, very manoeuvrable itself. And they skirted with oblivion on many times. Chaos 2, well, the Pyra, the technical Pyra, smoke went off because they thought Chaos 2 ended in the pit. How they survived this teetering on the edge of oblivion. Literally the pit of oblivion. They were teetering on the edge. The smoke then went off. No robot was pitted. They just hung on in there. How it happened, the laws of physics just was obviously not relevant for this particular bit. It did go to a judge's decision. Jonathan Pierce himself said,
"Clock is ticking down on one of the most bruising and thrilling Robot Wars battles I can ever remember. Fantastic!"
Which was then, of course, followed by the result of Chaos 2 winning, and George Francis also added,
"That was the most exciting fight I've ever been in. Yeah, in the years I've been doing Robot Wars, that was terrific."
It was relentless, it was pacey, it was edge of your seat stuff, and it was only for 3 minutes. It lasted the whole 3 minutes, and both machines were there till the end. It was a fantastic fight. The best probably from Series 5. Do you agree? What was your favourite fight from Series 5? But for this particular best battle recap, we put Chaos 2 and Wild Thing on our leaderboard. Now for fighting talk this time, we're actually looking at another arena hazard. I've mentioned the odd Hazard in the past in previous episodes, but this one was raised by Robot Wars fan, thank you, on a previous episode, regarding the Disc of Doom, which was featured in Series 6 and Extreme 2. Of course, it was present, you had to press the button. For me, a bit like the spikes, very underwhelming. The idea, of course, this big revving up disc that was in the arena, it wasn't to cause damage, it was to cause chaos when it came to driving. Because if you were on an onslaught, you were pushing a robot towards the pit, and then this big disc was spinning, it would divert and cause chaos when you're controlling on this time. Unfortunately, because of the heavyweights, that didn't quite really work. The disc wasn't powerful enough to spin these heavyweight robots. I think there was a couple of instances where the featherweights were at one point on this disc and you saw them spinning all over the place. But for me, wasn't really used either, was it, the disc? No one was pressing the Disc of Doom button. So for me, I think a bit of an underwhelming arena hazard. I can see why they didn't bring it back for the 7th series. What do you think? Did you think the Disc of Doom was a worthy entry to the arena hazards? Or like me, where you're a bit underwhelmed and maybe thinking, yes, they could have maybe done a bit more with it? Let me know in the comments below as we move on to our merchandise memories. Cast your mind back to 2002. As you can see here, there we go, we've got the hat and also my t-shirt, Robot Wars t-shirt, and I'll explain a little bit more in a minute. Plus this is the Series 6 and international programme. I have mentioned this before, but this is when I was privileged to attend one of the recordings. It was between Series 6 and Series 7 when they were doing all the international specials. And of course you got your merchandise, you got your hat, of course you got your t-shirt, and then on the back, I think it's second, the MEN Arena, which is what we attended in 2002. And this was the programme you got with it, and it goes through pretty much the history, what's coming up on the programme. We saw a couple of international shows which were broadcast as part of the European Championships in Extreme 2. And the biggest thing for us was that we were introduced to Growler, the new house robot on the block. We saw Growler in the arena, we didn't see Mr. Psycho, but we were introduced to Growler. Now, we didn't meet Craig Charles on this particular shoot. The Dutch presenters were on set. Just a bit of a trivia here, because I didn't know this, I couldn't even remember. I remember seeing them. Do you remember the Dutch presenters' names at the time, who were at the same reign as Craig Charles era? The chap was called Rob Campfuse, and the pit reporter was Bridget Masland, if you remember that. And it wasn't just watching the live recordings. When we went to Nottingham, it was the big warehouse where they filmed pretty much from Series 5 onwards. It was like a tour, so you walked in, they sat you down, but then on the way out you got to tour the stores. There was like a big area where you could buy merchandise, and we bought at the time the Danton Kieran Tornado toys, which of course are featured in our series, but also a bit like a museum as well. They had all of the replica house robots, they had all of the all of the bits, all the items from the pinball tournament, so the big sphere that went into the pit. They had the multi-ball release on show, the car door, the ramp, and then at the end, wait, get this, at the end, if you were really bored of waiting for the battles to start, there is a robot quiz. Should we have a look? Okay. Which robot is designed to look like a lobster? Okay, yeah. Thermidor, okay. Which of the following is not a competing robot? Mousetrap, Bee-Capitator, Fluffy, Botatronics, and Dietor. Well, from my stutter there, it's obviously Dietor. No, that's a terrible joke. Which of the house robots can pull a fully loaded Land Rover? Well, you know, that's Shunt. Who is the pit reporter on Robot Wars? Yeah, that's very basic, these. Who won Series 2? Which robot is decorated with a British flag and a vicious dog? Bulldog breed. Which comedy series did Craig Charles star in before Robot Wars? Red Dwarf. There we go. Which robot is George Francis the team captain of? Which robot is Simon Scott captain of? Who won the first World Championships? What is the best programme ever to be seen on TV? Robot Wars? Maybe? And of course, a bit further on, it gives you one of the best photos, I think, for me personally, from Series 4, the Series 4 House Robot lineup in that amazing arena, which personally is my favourite arena. So there you go. Nothing too fancy this time for merchandise memories, just the hat, the t-shirt, of course is what I wear for these episodes, and the Series 6 programme. Just before we move on to your questions, we can reveal the bot bits from earlier. Zoomed in quite a lot here. If you could figure out which house robot it was of course Shunt. Well done to any of you who got that right. And now we go on to your questions answered. First, we have one from Glanville32. What was my least favourite Robot Wars series? Thank you for your question. If you check out Reactivated episode 3, I do go into this in more detail. I do a ranking of each series, but for me, my least favourite was Series 7. Many issues for me in Series 7, the lack of All-Stars, the fact that it moved on to Channel 5. Personally, I wasn't a fan of the presenting lineup. Next, we have one from Try Movies. Thank you very much for your comment and question, which is, what would you do if you did a 9th series of our series? Interesting one, and I think for me, as you can see, we've got the Hexbug BattleBot toys here next to me. I would have probably included more of the BattleBots, more of the pullback, more of the radio-controlled toys, pitted them against our toys, and had maybe a BattleBot versus Robot Wars kind of edge to the series. So that's what we were thinking of doing for Series 8, but now that there are more Hexbug toys out there, might be an option for something in the future maybe. A question here from David. Out of all the house robots, if they were pitted together in the arena, who would win? It's a brilliant question. I've actually never really thought of this scenario, to be honest, because I mean they never fought each other. There was the odd, you know, bit of vengeance here and there, wasn't there, between them all? In fact, yeah, who remembers Refbot and Sergeant Bash fighting out to the death in Extreme 2? What a brilliant encounter that was. But if they were all together in the arena, including Mr. Psycho, Growler, Cassius, Chrome, I would have to pick Matilda. Since she was inserted with the flywheel, of course, I think she would obliterate everyone regardless. I mean, yes, okay, so Killot might, you know, be able to hoist and lift and shove because he's heavier, and Mr. Psycho too, but I just think if Matilda just got her backside in gear and used it, she would just annihilate them all. There we go. Thanks for your question. Josh Doing Things, thank you very much for your question, which was regarding Megabots. Is there going to be a second series? And that's an amalgamation really of quite a few who have commented on a potential new Megabots series. Of course, Series 1 we aired last year. We would happily do a second series if the interest was there. So please do let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see a new series of Megabots. It's certainly something that we would consider doing. Thank you very much for your question. There goes the Cease. There are a few others who I couldn't really get to today. I'm sure at some point we'll get back to your questions there, but once again, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this episode and you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, share, download, give it the like if you did. If you dislike this episode, please dislike it and leave your comments below. And of course, if you do have any more questions, please submit them below. But until next time, thank you all very much for watching, and goodbye.